Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Hart, and today I'll be breaking down the 7-game NBA slate we have here on DraftKings for Monday night. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. I'll be going over my favorite spin-up plays, some mid-range options we can look at, and some value plays we can plug into the lineups. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Do truly appreciate all the support I've gotten recently. All the likes really helps on my channel, so thank you guys for that. And let's get into the slate breakdown. Now, I don't know if some of you may have taken the day off of NBA DFS because of NFL Sunday, so some of you may have, but if you missed it, Joel Embiid went for 100 fantasy points. Insane. Yeah, but yeah, make sure to follow me on Twitter. Also, all I just want to say is Jokic in a fantastic spot, pretty low owned. I think he was 11%, is going to go out there and shoot 4 times. 4 times the entire game against Vooch defense. 4 times. Really? Anyways, let's get into the slates breakdown. As always, there's always going to be news that affects the whole slate in the core plays, so they'll most likely change by the time the slate starts. So, with that in mind, we'll kind of look at the best plays as of now. On the Charlotte side, we have the news that, obviously LaMelo Ball is back. They said they're going to play him in short bursts. Obviously, the coach is a lie. He played 28 minutes, shot the ball a good amount, 17. So, if LaMelo Ball is going to see at least 30 minutes, I do like him a good amount here in this spot against Orlando. 8,600 is kind of hefty, a little bit hefty of a price tag to pay for a guy who is going to be a little bit limited, but I think he should be good. Didn't shoot well from 3. Usually he's a pretty solid 3-point shooter, so have a good amount of interest there if he is going to be off that minutes limit. With him back, Rozier becomes just a secondary play for me. He will have games, playing well alongside LaMelo. I just want to wait till he gets down to that 7.5, maybe even closer to that 7K range before I start playing Rozier alongside LaMelo. Gordon Hayward's still out, so Oubre should see at least, I'd say 30 minutes, closer to 35. But he's one of those guys who can go out there and only play 25. It just depends on how he's shooting. Yeah, he looks okay there. Dennis Smith, if he's back, I wouldn't play him at all. Going to lose a ton of run and usage to LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier, so he pretty much becomes unplayable for me there. Plumlee's always in play. Not the best price, it's gone up a little bit to 5,600. Going against a big front court of the Magic, so maybe he gets extended to maybe 30 minutes. That is kind of asking a lot, so he looks okay. Not a lot I like on this Charlotte side besides obviously LaMelo at the top if he's off that minutes limit. PJ, you could take a dart throw there. He does have some upside, even with LaMelo back, but he's been brutal recently. So 5,200, solid price point. It's just he's been terrible. So you're kind of burning money there if you play him, but I don't hate it. Jalen McDaniels should see anywhere between 25 to 35 minutes, depending on how he's playing. I'd say 25 is kind of the safer expectation from him. He's a guy who can go out there and be productive, but at that price point of 4,700. Not really getting him on a discount or, a good enough play there. Nick Richards splitting the backup center run. Going to see at least 15 minutes, maybe closer to 20. Decent point per minute guy. Looks okay. Maybe if you think, Plumlee gets in foul trouble, maybe Nick Richards will get extended. Otherwise, not a lot of interest on that Charlotte side. On the Orlando side, Paolo is looking like he'll be back. So with him back, not a lot I like there. He'll be, he'll assume the number 1 role when it comes to the offense. So that kind of takes guys like Wendell out of play for me. Franz looks okay. I mean, there's just not a lot of interest I like with Paolo back because he's going to be the number 1 guy. Bobo's decent play there. Just nothing really stands out for me price point wise on the Magic with Paolo coming back. Now you could always look to Paolo. He's been great this year, averaging about 42 fantasy points per game. Going up against a weak Charlotte front court, not scared of PJ Washington or Plumlee defense. So it's a good spot for Paolo and Wendell. It's just, the price points aren't the best. Suggs, if you want to take a shot there and hope he hits his shots, you could. But yeah, not a lot of interest in this first game for me. Chuma's minutes should go back down to about the 15 to 20 minute range. Gary Harris might be back, so that might crowd the guards. Could always take that shot on Terrence Ross. Hope he has one of those games where he goes for, 20 real life points to pay off his salary, 4,000. I guess that's an okay value play. Obamba should see maybe 15 minutes, another okay value play. That really does it for the first game. Not a lot I like. On to Toronto. Now, there's going to be some usual suspects when it comes to value for tomorrow. Van Fleet is out once again, so we can look to guys like Barnes, OG, and Gary Trent to carry the offensive load. Last game, Scotty did not play well at all. Played a ton of minutes, shot the ball a ton, but just didn't hit his shots. Was good at rebounds, good at assists, good at everything besides, hitting a shot. So I like going back to him at 8,000. I do think that price tag will scare some people away. Now, he'll still be, pretty high owned just because of his usage here in going against Detroit. But I do like Scotty a good amount. Small forward, point forward, small forward, power forward eligible. OG looks very solid as well. Not going to have as many assist opportunities or even rebound opportunities, but he can still, rebound the ball pretty well. And he's going to be very aggressive when it comes to shooting his shots. And he's averaging 3 steals and blocks or more a game. So it's pretty insane, but those points really help out. So at 7,400, not the best price point, but with his usage right now in his role, it looks decent. I think I maybe slightly prefer going to Scotty just because he's going to be their point guard. I think Gary Trent's in play. Came out, shot 1 of 13, only played 20 minutes. I do like a bounce back spot here for him against Detroit, but he is pretty score independent. But price point's pretty solid. He's going to go out there and look to be aggressive. So he can go out there and, get 30 real life fantasy points or 30 real life points. And 5,600 is an easy price tag for him to pay off. So I do have a good amount of interest in him. Boucher was kind of their main guy off the bench who did pretty well. 19 points, 7 rebounds in 28 minutes. I think we can kind of expect at least 20. There are times where he'll only play like 15 for some reason, but yeah, I think we can expect 20. Hopefully gets to 25. One of those guys that can break the slate, so don't mind him there at 5,600. Otto will probably start once again. He played 27 minutes, 20 fantasy points. That's kind of what you expect from Otto. Should see at least 25 minutes. Not gonna go out there and shoot the ball a ton, but he will get you some rebounds, some assists. Did get 2 steals as well, so kind of expect that 15 to maybe 25 fantasy point range at most for him there. But he's pretty solid value at 4,000. People are going to flock to Thad Young because he had the better game, but I think they're both in play. Thad Young should most likely start again, 34 minutes, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals. Now, I don't really expect him to score this much. That's kind of the cherry on top there, but 3,900 once again looks like a fantastic value play there. Power forward center eligible, so he's looking great. Koloko hurt his leg, but it looks like he's supposedly fine. He'll see about 15, 20 minutes. Don't think you need to force him in there. Banton saw 13 minutes, was actually pretty productive in that time. Same thing with Malachi, 20 was pretty productive. You can force him in there if you want, but I just prefer getting to 1 or 2 of the main guys, and then I mean, there's a lot to like on this Toronto team. I think I just prefer getting to Thad Young, and then probably Scotty Barnes is right now. On the Detroit side, Cade's still out, so Ivy looks great. Price point really hasn't moved, 6,200. Looks a lot better as kind of that shooting guard, the secondary guard. So they moved Killian Hayes into the starting lineup. Ivy's able to play kind of off ball, do a lot more of cutting, being open that way instead of being the main ball handler. So yeah, he looks pretty solid at 6,200. Don't mind running it back there with him. Bogdan looks a little too cheap for his role. Even in this matchup against those wings of Toronto, he looks pretty solid. Should see about 35 minutes. Good shooter. Can get to the free throw line as well the past 2 games. So do like him a good amount at 5,600. Isaiah Stewart looks decent. Just not shooting the ball a ton. He has that double-double upside, but just not shooting enough for me. Sadiq Bey is more of a tournament play just because, he can go out there and get you 15 fantasy points, or he can hit all his shots and go out there and get you 50. So 5,200, I think he's definitely worth taking a risk, a dart throw on if you want to. Bagley's back. He played about 17 minutes. I do think we can kind of expect the same thing. My only interest really on this team is going to be, Killian Hayes as that value point guard. Should play at least 30 minutes in this spot. He was pretty good the past 2 games. Alec Burks is back, so maybe that eats into a little bit of Killian Hayes' usage in minutes, but I think Killian Hayes should see at least 25, if not 30, and I think Alec Burks will see at least 25, if not 30. I do kind of prefer Burks, a little bit better of a scorer, and kind of can do a little bit of everything, so I do like him. Point guard, shooting guard, eligible, so I think he'd be my favorite play on the Detroit side. Going on to OKC in Boston. SGA, not really sure why his price is this cheap. I mean, this man is averaging 52 fantasy points a game pretty much. Everything's there for him. I don't know why he's this cheap. Kind of feels like a trap. I'm not going to lie. I feel like this is too good to be true for SG in this spot. But yeah, I think he looks like one of the best plays on the slate. Way too cheap there. Giddey looks great, 5,600 or 6,500, excuse me. Minutes came back. He shot the ball pretty well. Got a triple double. So yeah, that's the upside Giddey possesses. I think 6,500 is too cheap there in this spot for Giddey. Otherwise, I really don't have much interest in anyone else on this team. Lou Dort's there. Same thing with Poku. Just really prefer getting to the two main guys. There's just so much going on with this bench. I hate it. Yeah. Boston, Tatum looks great. The price came up, though, because of Jaylen Brown being out and having that good game. Prefer getting to Jaylen Brown for obvious reasons. He's way too cheap here. 8,500. I guess not way too cheap, but way too cheap compared to Tatum. Tatum's almost, 3,000 more than him. Doesn't make much sense, but do like Brown a good amount. That takes Smart out of play for me. I do have a good amount of interest in Horford. He's been very productive the past 5-6 games. Not going to shoot the ball a ton, but he's been very solid at the rebounds recently. Most likely going to get you 2 assists, and he's decent in blocks and steals. I know he really hasn't gotten a ton this year yet, but yeah, he's been pretty productive the past, week, 2 weeks for him. So I do like him a good amount of 5,400. Grant Williams will probably, come off the bench, play about 25 to 30 minutes. He looks okay, but at that price tag, not in play for me. Same thing with Derek White. Kind of takes everyone out of play with Jaylen Brown being back. So really only prefer Horford or Brown for me on that Boston side. Phoenix side, D-Book looks solid if Chris Paul's out once again. If Chris Paul's in, Book looks okay. Paul looks okay. Bridges looks okay. Everyone kind of just looks okay. Payne wouldn't play him. Yeah, not a lot of interest. I guess maybe Ayton, but really just not a ton of interest I like. Torrey Craig is always a fair value play there. Should see the minutes. Just not going to shoot the ball a ton, but he is, usually pretty productive. Defensive-minded player, so he will get those peripheral stats. But yeah, not a ton of interest in that Phoenix team with Chris Paul most likely back. Miami side, Jimmy priced up a little bit too high. I'm assuming Tyler Hero will be back. So if he's back, price point wise on this team, I think Hero's always in play just because he's a pretty solid scorer. Strus is always in play, even though he's a little bit scoring dependent. Had a great game shooting the ball last game. Otherwise, it's just kind of that same thing. Like the price points are just not the best for all these guys if Hero's back. I mean, if he's out, Jimmy looks okay. Prefer getting to Bam, and then Kyle Lowry looks okay. Prefer getting to Strus. We can always look to Gabe Vincent as a value play. Don't expect him to be shooting, 10 plus times a game. Kind of expect that number to drop back down to that 7-8 times a game range. But yeah, fair value at 4,700 for him. You can look to Caleb Martin, just not productive. Seeing the minutes. Same thing with Duncan. Seeing some minutes, just not the best when it comes to production. That's really it. Atlanta, Milwaukee. Trae Young, 10K, looks solid. They did get blown out by Milwaukee a few games ago when Giannis played. Giannis is back, but Drew Holiday is out, so maybe this game should stay close. So Trae looks decent, 10,000, doesn't have to be guarded by Drew Holiday. So I do like him a good amount. DeJounte, prefer getting the Trae, but DeJounte does have a ceiling, shooting pretty much the same amount of times as Trae, so do like them a decent amount. Capella, if you want to ride the hot streak with Capella, you can. He's been fantastic rebounding the ball the past week and a half. Not really sure what happened, but he really turned it on. So 6,300 with how he's playing is, fair value, especially with this Bucks team who should shoot the ball a ton. So yeah, I like Capella a decent amount. Collins, he's that X factor play, but he's not been playing well at all. So really have no interest there, especially with him most likely guarding Giannis. Hunter, okay, 5K. It's really just only the two guys at the top for me. You can always take that shot on Okongwu. He should see about 20 minutes. He's kind of like a Nick Richards play. Kind of want the starting center to get in foul trouble so they can get extended. Otherwise, they just look like an okay value play. That's really it on Atlanta. Milwaukee, we got Giannis at the top. 12-4 looks fantastic. It's just right now, not sure if there's enough value to be able to get to Giannis. Drew Holiday is still out. So Portis looks okay, 7,400. With Giannis back, don't think I'm going to get to him. Middleton not playing yet, so I'm not sure why they listen as questionable. Brook Lopez just priced up a little too high for me. Pretty much just expect Giannis to dominate the usage. You could take that shot into Javon Carter if you want. Not going to shoot 15 times, assuming it comes down to about 10. Grayson Allen, I guess the big news is him. If he's in, it looks like he will be in. I'd say he'd be my favorite play. Not going to shoot the ball a ton, but he's just a solid defender. Can hit the threes, can get some rebounds, assists, can get some steals. So he looks like a decent value play there for me on this side at 5,200. Connaughton looks like he may be back. I'm assuming he'd probably be on a minutes limit, so would only have interest if he's not on that. And that's really it on the Milwaukee side. Pretty much just Giannis and Grayson. On the Clippers, I think this might be one of my favorite games to stack. Paul George price is up there. I think he'll scare people off. But as we saw a few games ago from Paul George against Houston, 75 fantasy points. Obviously, he got 6 steals. A little bit of an outlier there, but can kind of expect everything to run through Paul George. Like him a good amount. Kawhi's still out. Zubac just a little too expensive for me there. Does have a ceiling, double-double. Can't get you those blocks as well, so looks okay. Morris, price point is coming up a little bit too high for me. I really just prefer getting to, Paul George or Reggie Jackson. John Wall is out, so Reggie should see about 30 minutes. Hasn't been great at all this year, but 5,100, I think it's a solid value play there for Reggie. Powell, if you want to take that dart throw, I guess he's put up 3, straight games of pretty solid games for him. Don't hate it. He's just been very bad this year. I do have a good amount of interest in Luke Kennard. With John Wall being out, Luke Kennard should see, I think they're starting him, so he should see at least, I'd say, around 25 minutes, probably even a little bit more. Not the highest usage guy, but at 4K, he looks like a good value play there. Man should see, I'd say, at least 20 minutes. Another okay value play. I prefer getting to Luke Kennard just because he's a better scorer. Houston side, we have Kevin Porter Jr. I like him a lot here at 7,200. Really hasn't been the best the past 2 games, but he does have a pretty solid ceiling. Sengun, his best game of the season came against the Clippers, 48 fantasy points. So don't mind running it back here with him. He is very foul prone though, so there is always that risk that he fouls out. Green prices come up a little bit, but I still like him a lot. The minutes are there, usage is there. Just really need him to hit a shot. So he looks decent there, 6,600. Jabari Smith, just more of a contrarian play. Really prefer just getting to the 2 main guys at the top for me. Eric Gordon, contrarian play there in the mid-range. You could take a shot on Eason and KJ if you want. They're both going to be seen probably close to 20 minutes, but really don't think you need to force anything. Really just kind of look at the main 3 guys, and that's really it on the Houston side. And then moving on to the last game, we get the Spurs and Warriors. Spurs side, I think Keldon Johnson's a little bit too cheap here in this matchup. The minutes are there, usage is there. It just comes down to him hitting his shot. He's pretty much been hitting it. He's been a pretty solid shooter all year. Shoots a ton of threes, so I do like him a good amount here at 7,100. Portal looks solid. Seeing at least 30 minutes, if he gets extended, that's, great. 3 great games in a row. So, yeah, like him, like Vassell, Trey Jones, just a tournament play. Once again, he's kind of been solid the past 3 games, just like Portal. Not the best matchup going against Steph, but yeah, he looks decent. Jeremy should see about 25 minutes. I guess he's a decent value play. Bassey's been very productive off the bench as their backup center. If you want to take a shot there, I don't mind it. I don't know if we can trust, him going out there and getting 5, 14, 4, and 4 in 18 minutes. A lot of that was a blowout run at the end of the game. So yeah, I don't trust him getting that many fancy points. I do think that's going to elevate his ownership. Kind of expect him in that 15 to 23 fancy point range, but at 3,800, that's pretty solid. Kind of really does it for me on the Spurs side. It's pretty much just the main 3 for me. And then Golden State Warriors, it's pretty much just Steph and Wiggins. We know what we're getting from them. Green, just more of that tournament play. Has that triple-double upside. Hasn't got it yet this year. Only shot the ball 5 times, only had 2 points, so he's not going to score the ball a ton, but he can do, the rebounding and assists, as we know with Draymond Green. Poole, once again, kind of like a Green. Really only want to get to them if other guys are out. No one's out, so they look okay. I like going to Clay if you want to get risky. just can't hit his shots. He's been brutal, but he does have a little bit of upside if he's hitting his shots. So don't mind getting him there, especially if you want to game stack this game. Looney looks okay. Not the best value play at 4,500. Lamb, he's seen minutes, looks decent as a value play at 3,400. He's been productive when he's been out there. DiVincenzo's back, so maybe that eats into some of his minutes. But yeah, it's really just, Wiggins and Curry for me. And then in terms of, let's go with one or two more value plays, or not value plays, but core plays as of right now, heading into tomorrow night's slate. So we got Burks, we got SGA, we got Thad Young. I like Paul George a good amount, but I think it's going to be Ivy once again, and then Jaylen Brown. I think right now this is kind of the direction I'm looking in terms of my lineup. Really like the value play there for Alec Burks. Same thing with Thad Young. Ivy looks very solid with Cade Cunningham out once again. Jaylen Brown, really like that price point for him. Coming back from that illness, he should be good to go. Should be locked in for about 35 minutes. It just comes down to him hitting a shot. And then SGA, just way too cheap for how well he's been playing this season. Kind of does seem like a trap. I could see him going out there and only getting like 30 fantasy points, but at that price point, I think you got to take that risk because he's been fantastic this year. So if you guys like the breakdown, like the video, do greatly appreciate it. Subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.